Honestly, try honesty, no. Just tell me what I want to hear, 'cause it could save us. Let me fly, I've got my hopes, but I can hardly see why I'm still chasing. It's not worth it for me anymore. Crashed and burned 100 times, I'm lost. I just can't let this go. Every last chance I had is gone, but I just can't let you know. I just can't let you know. But I just can't let you know.
Wizard, what do you see as you twist the tiles beneath our feet? Oh, wizard, what have you done to me? As the dark energy flows from inside of me, inside of me.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Dear Esther. Esther? I'm not sure. Let's see what options we got. We got, closed captions. Oh yeah, enable those. Make them large so we can all see them. 5.1 speakers. Who has 5.1 speakers? You go to controller. I'm not using controller though. Mouse acceleration? What's that supposed to mean? Anyway, make sure it's in English here. Yes, okay, we're good. Video? Anyway, as far as I know, this is gonna go along the lines of a game I previously streamed called, What Remains of Edith Finch. It's an explorative game with heavy on the narration. From what I was able to find, the whole point is I am on this island, and I'm walking around, and as I go, I'm gonna hear someone reading a letter. And each part of the letter I'm gonna hear pertains to the part of the island I'm on. That's all I really know. I don't know if it's deeper than that or anything, or if that's just the basics of it. But let's get into it, shall we? Lighthouse, buoy, caves, the beacon. Let's leave the directors out of this.
Dear Esther, the gulls do not land here anymore. I've noticed that this year they seem to shun the place. Maybe it's the depletion of the fishing stock driving them away. Perhaps it's me. When he first landed here, Donnelly wrote that the herds were sickly and their shepherds the lowest of the miserable classes that populate these Hebridean islands. 300 years later, even they have departed.
I've got a flashlight. Oh my god. This feels like a horror game now. Everything's all old. Can I look at this map? Is that the island? It's more like Britain than an island. I think that is Britain. The wonderful UK. I think that's the island nation of Great Britain that map's supposed to be of. Oh, that's okay. Someone was a chemist, I would think. button. It's just moving and looking. Unless it's going to tell me something else. Go along this way. See what we can find. Oh, it's windy. Not even a nice day, unfortunately. It's all overcast and windy. Seems to be some kind of, that must be the beacon we saw on the menu. See if this beach goes anywhere. It doesn't look like it.
Those islands in the distance, I am sure, are nothing more than relics of another time, sleeping giants, somnambulist gods laid down for a final dreaming.
What islands in the distance?
I
don't
watch the
see
sand
any.
from my lips and grip my wrist ever more tightly. My shaking arms will not support my fading diaries.
Oh, that's a golden ratio. Fibonacci ratio. Basically the math of life. For some reason, we don't understand why, but life just follows that spiral. The number of
I have
petals on
found
a
the
flower-
ship's manifest, crumpled and waterlogged under a stash of paint cans. It tells me that along with this present cargo, there was a large quantity of antacid yogurt bound for the European market. It must have washed out to sea. God knows there are no longer gulls or goats here to eat it.
No goats, you say? Anyway, it's like from the petal, how the petals grow on a flower to how a snail shell grows and spirals out. It's most obviously seen in a nautilus shell. All I know about the nautilus is that I don't know if it still exists, but it is a sea creature. I think nautilus died out a long time ago. I think they're extinct. Okay, it looks like I've gone as far as I can on this beachhead. I haven't seen any islands. There we go. This is just going to be me walking around and some guy reading a letter. I think I much prefer the What Remains of Edith Finch. At least that I had a bit more to do. That was a bit more of an interactive story. You went around the house and learned the tales by interacting with things, and you gotta take part in them. Oh man, I think I want to replay that.
The mount is clearly the focal point of this landscape. It almost appears so well placed as to be artificial. I find myself easily slipping into the delusional state of ascribing purpose, deliberate motive to everything here. Was this island formed during the moment of impact? When we were torn loose from our moorings and the seatbelts cut motorway lanes into our chests and shoulders, did it first break surface then?
What? I don't understand what he means by that question. Like, what is he talking about? The moment
When someone had died or was dying, or was so ill they gave up what little hope they could sacrifice, they cut parallel lines into the cliff, exposing the white chalk beneath. You could see them from the mainland or the fishing boats, and know to send aid or impose a cordon of protection, and wait a generation until whatever pestilence stalked the cliff paths died along with its hosts. My lines are just for this, to keep any would-be rescuers at bay. The infection is not simply of the flesh.
is he talking about, like, suicidal tendencies?
They were God-fearing people, those shepherds. There was no love in the relationship. Donnelly tells me that they had one Bible that was passed around in strict rotation. It was stolen by a visiting monk in 1776, 2 years before the island was abandoned altogether. In the interim, I wonder, did they assign chapter and verse to the stones and grasses, marking the geography with a superimposed significance that they could actually walk the Bible and inhabit its contradictions?
I'm not gonna go into that. Because I'm going to be honest right now, I do have some strong personal feelings when it comes to...
Dear Esther, I met Paul. I made my own little pilgrimage. My Damascus, a small semi-detached on the outskirts of Wolverhampton. We drank coffee in his kitchen and tried to connect to one another. Although he knew I hadn't come in search of an apology, reason or retribution, he still spiraled in panic, thrown high and lucid by his own dented bonnet. Responsibility had made him old. Like us, he'd already passed beyond any conceivable boundary of life. I threw my arms wide and the cliff opened out before me, making this rough home. I transferred my belongings from the bothy on the mount and tried to live here instead. It was cold at night and the sea lapped at the entrance at high tide. To climb the peak, I must first venture even deeper into the veins of the island, where the signals are blocked altogether. Only then will I understand them, when I stand on the summit and they flow into me, uncorrupted.
I don't know what that's... I don't recognize that at all. If it's gonna... It could be like... These are neurons, brain cells, basically. That's up here. I don't want to be in the water. Never actually been in a cave like that. I have once, but I mean, that was... Wait, did I get turned around? Was I supposed to come out like that and go this way? Well, this is a way I know I haven't gone, so let's check this.
I dreamt I stood in the center of the sun, and the solar radiation cooked my heart from the inside. My teeth will curl and my fingernails fall off into my pockets like loose change. If I could stomach, I'd eat, but all I seem capable of is salt water. Were the livestock still here, I could turn feral and gorge. I'm as emaciated as a body on a slab, opened up for a premature source of death. I've rowed to this island in a heart without a bottom, all the bacteria of my gut rising up to sing to me.
Okay, so he came here. It sounds like he was depressed about something. So he came here to get away from it, maybe? Oh. Did I just die?
Come back.
Oh, I did. God, it is in this anyway. Chemistry. That seems to lead off this way. If it weren't for... I bet this place would probably be rather beautiful if it weren't for how overcast it is. With all the clouds blocking out the sun, this feels like a cursed place. Somewhere no one should go. Oh.
Dear Esther, I have now driven the stretch of the M5 between Exeter and Bristol over 21 times. But although I have all the reports and all the witnesses, and have cross-referenced them within a millimetre using my Ordnance Survey maps, I simply cannot find the location. You'd think there would be marks to serve as some evidence. It's somewhere between the turn-off for Sanford and the welcome break services. But although I can always see it in my rear-view mirror, I have as yet been unable to pull ashore.
What is he looking for? This island? Is that what he's talking about? It's like... Oh, is that that's a ship. That is a... Wow. I'm sure if I try to slide down, I'll probably end up... Let's try. Let's see if I can get close. Oh yeah, I can. Fence is broken here. This is where the monster came from. I doubt this is a horror game. Even though it frickin' feels like one. Wonder what caused them to crash. I'm starting to think the whole point of this whole area is to be sad. I think it's supposed to be dull and gray. Shadowed by the thoughts of whoever it is that is reading or wrote this letter to Esther. Whoever these people are.
An imagined answer phone message. The tires are flat, the wheel spins loosely, and the brake fluid has run like ink over this map, staining the landmarks and rendering the coastline mute, compromised. Where you saw galaxies, I saw only bruises cut into the cliff by my lack of sobriety.
Okay, that must be the time it goes up here. By lack of sobriety, it must... I don't think he means he was drunk. I have a feeling that just doubts that that's a fact. Oh, am I back at the beginning? Seems so. Do I want to go that way along the beach then?
I had kidney stones and you visited me in the hospital. After the operation, when I was still half submerged in anesthetic, your outline and your speech both blurred. Now my stones have grown into an island and made their escape, and you have been rendered opaque by the car of a drunk.
What? I think he's talking about the pain. I think this woman...
What charnel house lies at the foot of this abyss? How many dead shepherds could fill this hole?
I think I'm understanding what's happened. She's dead. And this man, whoever he is to her, misses her. He brought up kidney stones as a reference to pain. And then the anesthetics are
I've begun my ascent on the green slope of the western side. I've looked deep into the mountain from the shaft and understood that I must go up and then find the way under. I will stash the last vestiges of my civilization in the stone walls and work deeper from there. I'm drawn by the aerial and the cliff edge. There is some form of rebirth waiting for me there.
He's talking about pain and numbness, and I think he's come to this island to seek a new chapter. Basically, he's trying to get away from that pain and the numbness that it's caused him. The numbness he's had to put on himself to escape that pain. He wants to feel again. That's depression, basically. must mean
The bothy was constructed originally in the early 1700s. By then, shepherding had formalized into a career. The first habitual shepherd was a man called Jakobsen, from a lineage of migratory Scandinavians. He was not considered a man of breeding by the mainlanders. He came here every summer whilst building the bothy, hoping eventually that becoming a man of property would secure him a wife and a lineage. Donnelly records that it did not work. He caught some disease from his malcontented goats and died 2 years after completing it. There was no one to carve white lines into the cliff for him either. Inventory. A trestle table we spread wallpaper on in our first home. A folding chair. I laughed at you for bringing camping in the lakes. I was uncomfortable later and you laughed then. This diary, the bed with the broken springs. Once asleep you have to remember not to dream. A change of clothes. Donnelly's book, stolen from Edinburgh Library on the way here. I will burn them all on the last morning and make an aerial of my own.
maybe him and this Esther were here together at one point. I'm guessing that by the connection, either they were... three things I've got in my head. They were either childhood friends, who were never apart, basically. Siblings who had a really good relationship, which I would honestly be extremely jealous of, or they were married. Either way, they had a deep connection, and she's dead, he's depressed. And he's come here, I don't know if it's as an escape or if he's trying to cope. I'm hoping cope.
He left his body to the medical school and was duly opened out for a crowd of students 21 days after his passing. The report is included in my edition of his book. The syphilis had torn through his guts like a drunk driver, scrambling his organs like eggs on a plate.
Oh,
but enough definition remained for a cursory examination, and, as I suspected, they found clear evidence of kidney stones. He's likely to have spent the last years of his life in considerable pain. Perhaps this is the root of his laudanum habit. Although its use makes him an unreliable witness, I find myself increasingly drawn into his orbit. They found Jakobsen in early spring. The thaw had only just come. Even though he'd been dead nearly 7 months, his body had been frozen right down to the nerves and had not even begun to decompose. His fingernails were raw and bitten to the quick. They found the phosphorescent moss that grows in the caves deep under the nails. Whatever he'd been doing under the island when his strength began to fail is lost. He'd struggled halfway up the cliff again, perhaps in a delirium, perhaps trying to reach the bothy's fire before curling into a stone and expiring.
Fallen. Trash all over this.
Climbing down to the caves, I slipped and fell and have injured my leg. I think the femur is broken. It is clearly infected. The skin has turned a bright, tight pink, and the pain is crashing in on waves, winter tides against my shoreline, drowning out the ache of my stones. I struggled back to the bothy to rest, but it has become clear that there is only one way this is likely to end. The medical supplies I looted from the trawler have suddenly found their purpose. They will keep me lucid for my final ascent.
What's back here? Now, my question is, am I... I don't think I am the guy who is writing the letter. I am for some reason... I don't know why I'm here, though. Listening, or maybe I'm reading it, remembering it, maybe I've read it. But I don't understand what I have to do with any of this. That's into the cave. Got that light coming in. Water dripping. Oh, poopy. Oh, I wanted to go that way. Okay.
Did Jakobsen crawl this far? Can I identify the scratches his nails ruined into the rocks? Am I following him cell for cell, inch for inch? Why did he turn back on himself and not carry through to the ascent?
Must have fallen in that water. Because a drop like that onto rock probably would have killed someone. Glowy right here. I can't check that out. Maybe it's... no, I don't know. This green glow is definitely the moss they were talking about. Actually being in a cave like this would probably be such a beautiful experience, but you could get lost, and it can be dangerous. I mean, oh my god, look at that. Beautiful. But dangerous. I highly doubt there's any way for me to go. Other than down. I don't want to. I don't want to do it. Okay, the water helped me. Probably should have explored that one part of the cave I did come up to. Oh well. Can't go back now. Is this the way I need to go? That's where I was earlier, I'm guessing. Now I'm over here and I can go around. Yeah, that's where I jumped down. The glowing of the moss and everything. I mean, I understand. It makes it feel like.
In my final dream, I sat at peace with Jakobsen and watched the moon over the Sandford Junction. Goats grazed on the hard shoulder, a world gone to weed and redemption. He showed me his fever scars, and I mine, between each shoulder the nascency of flight.
It makes it feel like I'm in a completely different world altogether. While I know it's just a cave on an island, it feels like I'm nowhere on Earth. Makes it just a wonder that nature can create something like this. They bicker and argue about its capabilities. What the? Are those crystals? Look like crystals of some kind.
I will hold the hand you offered to me. From the summit down to this well, into the dark waters where the small flowers creep for the sun. Headlights are reflected in your retinas, moonlit in the shadow of the crematorium chimney.
Behold, Damascus is taken. Huh. Oh, wow. Chemistry, neuroscience, circuitry. That's computer right there. All combined. Or maybe they're just overlapping. Now, was this the guy who's writing this letter away from being a city? Or was it here before him? It honestly looked like roots or some kind of fiber. But I'm sure there's stalactites. I'm gonna get wet here. Oh, there I go. Oh. What? Oh, I guess I wanted to drop down? Oh, that's... The force of that water just pushed me right back down. You normally don't see stuff like that in-game. Unless, of course, they're using it as a wall. Then they'll do stuff like that. But that's like right in the middle there, so... that's interesting. So this looks like it's going to be a straight shot out from here. Yep, that's probably exactly what it is. Up and out. Definitely stop here for a night.
I sat here and watched two jets carve parallel white lines into the sky. They charted their course, and I followed them for 21 minutes until they turned off near Sanford and were lost. If I were a gull, I would abandon my nest and join them. I would starve my brain of oxygen and suffer delusions of transcendence. I would tear the bottom from my boat and sail across the motorways until I reached this island once again.
What's all this? Car?
We shall begin to assemble our own version of the North Shore. We will scrawl in dead languages and electrical diagrams and hide them away for future theologians to muse and mumble over. We will send a letter to Esther Donnelly and demand her answer. We will mix the paint with ashes and tarmac and the glow from our infections. We will paint a moon over the Sanford Junction and blue lights
It's
falling
a
like stars along the
defibrillator?
hard shoulder.
Esther Donnelly is... Well, no, he said that in the letter to Esther. So, a different Esther?
All by the roadside, by the exit for Damascus, all ticking and cooled, all feathers and remorse, all of these signals routed like traffic through the circuit diagrams of our guts, those badly written boats torn bottomless in the swells, washing us forever ashore.
Sounds like he's getting into a mood here. It's not going to be a good one. Seems a little anger in there.
From here, I can see my armada. I collected all the letters I'd ever meant to send to you, if I'd have ever made it to the mainland, but had instead collected at the bottom of my rucksack, and I spread them out along the lost beach. Then I took each and every one, and I folded them into boats. I folded you into the creases, and then, as the sun was setting, I set the fleet to sail. Shattered into 21 pieces, I consigned you to the Atlantic, and I sat here until I'd watched all of you sink.
Okay, then. Let's see what's over here. That is a boat launch. On a sudden, a light from heaven shined around him, and he fell to the ground. Okay, then. Doesn't look like I can keep going this way. That's why those stairs are there. Okay. I'm probably following this path all the way up to that, I think he called it an aerial?
A sound of torn metal, teeth running over the edge of the rocks, a moon that casts a signal as I lay pinned beside you, the ticking of the cooling engine, and the calling from a great height, all my mind as a bypass.
He was in the car accident? The fact that he survived and she didn't, if he was there with her, could cause a lot of mental just anguish. It's survivor's remorse. He's upset that she died and he didn't, you know. There's always that in movies that shows, oh, why them, not why not me, yada yada yada. I mean, I'm not trying to pass it off like it's...
I've begun my voyage in a paper boat without a bottom. I will fly to the moon in it. I've been folded along a crease in time, a weakness in the sheet of life. Now you've settled on the opposite side of the paper to me. I can see your traces in the ink that soaks through the fiber, the pulped vegetation. When we become waterlogged and the cage disintegrates, we will intermingle. When this paper aeroplane leaves the cliff edge and casts parallel vapor trails in the dark, we will come together.
When he was proceeding on his journey, I don't know if that's the whole thing or if that's only part of it, because I didn't notice it until it was mostly gone. It was coming near to Damascus, I think that's what it said. And he...
If only Donnelly had experienced this, he would have realized he was his own
3
shoreline,
days.
as am I. Just as I am becoming this island, so he became his syphilis. retreating into the burning synapses, the stones, the infection.
Without sight, okay. Isn't syphilis an STD? I don't know. I am not a doctor.
The stones in my stomach will weigh me down and ensure my descent is true and straight. I will break through the fog of these godforsaken pills and achieve clarity. All my functions are clogged, all my veins are choked. If my leg doesn't rot off before I reach the summit, it will be a miracle. There are 21 connections in the circuit diagram of the anti-lock brakes. There are 21 species of gull inhabiting these islands. It is 21 miles between the Sandford Junction and the turn-off for home. All these things cannot, will not be a coincidence.
Sometimes it is just coincidence. He is going through survivor's remorse. He hates himself for being alive when she died. He hates himself for surviving. Doesn't want it to just be chance. It's kind of sad. Not kind of sad, it is sad.
A gull perched on a spent bonnet, sideways, whilst the sirens fell through the middle distance and the metal moaned in grief about us. I'm about this night in walking, old bread and gull bones, old Donnelly at the bar gripping his drink, old Esther walking with our children, old Paul as ever, old Paul. He shakes and he shivers and he turns off his lights alone.
Okay, he said old Esther walking with our children, which, I have a feeling Esther, the one he's writing the letter to, was his wife. It's just getting windier as I go up. Must be a storm, yeah. Nope, that's just dust, not lightning.
Run out of places to climb. I will abandon this body and take to the air. Dear Esther, I have burnt my belongings, my books, this death certificate. Mine will be written all across this island. Who was Jakobsen? Who remembers him? Donnelly has written of him, but who was Donnelly? Who remembers him? I have painted, carved, hewn, scored into this space all that I could draw from him. There will be another to these shores to remember me. I will rise from the ocean like an island without bottom, come together like a stone, become an aerial, a beacon, that they will not forget you. We have always been drawn here. One day the gulls will return and nest in our bones and our history. I will look to my left and see Esther Donnelly flying beside me. I will look to my right and see Paul Jakobsen flying beside me. They will leave white lines carved into the air to reach the mainland, where help will be sent.
So was he Donnelly? Oh, I saw the shadow. He did. They did turn into a bird. Right back to Vane. There's the shadow of the bird. The letters that he was talking about. Okay then.
Come back.
Is that it? That felt like a finality. I guess that was that. Oh, yep, that is the end of Dear Esther. I mean, I guess for what I found on it, that it being that short is understandable. It was really well put together, to say the least. The music definitely worked for the story. Would have personally, just a little personal note, would have been better if it started off really bright and vibrant and then slowly became darker as the storm came in, instead of being gray and dark from the beginning. But I also understand that he was dealing with... the whole point is him dealing with his grief and everything from the get-go. So I can understand why they had it dark and windy at the beginning as well. Anyway, next time we will be doing yet another story. So until then, I hope everyone has a fantastic night.